The principles of design. The word intelligence means the ability to acquire knowledge and apply it to accomplish a specific task. And all animals have some degree of intelligence. If they didn't, they wouldn't know how to look for and to find the food that they need to survive. But this doesn't mean that all animals have the same level of intelligence. For example, a worm has to have some level of intelligence in order to survive. But its level is far below that of an insect, which is less than that of a bird, which is less than that of a tiger, which is less than that of a gorilla. But among all of those in the animal kingdom, man has the highest level of intelligence, and there are several distinctive characteristics that sets him far above all the other animals. For example, most animals have some kind of an ability to communicate with one another, but it's limited in what kind of information they can convey. On the other hand, man is the only animal who has the ability to clearly express themselves through the use of a spoken language. Even though all animals have some form of intelligence, only man has the ability to comprehend intangible ideas or abstract concepts such as writing, reading, math, self-awareness, religious beliefs, appreciating beauty, and the idea of art. From man's earliest existence, we see evidence of him drawing pictures, which is something that no other animal has the ability or intelligence to do. In many cases, art has been used as a way to communicate ideas to others, thereby understanding the intangible concept that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Over time, man has applied his intelligence of abstract thinking to improve his ability to create art in more complex and sophisticated forms. Today, art has become a science that contains a set of rules that must be followed. These rules are known as the principles of design, and depending on what school of thought someone prescribes to, there can be anywhere from 6 to 13 different principles. These include such things as balance, symmetry, contrast, repetition of patterns, variety, unity, and proportion. In addition to this, the picture must also look aesthetically pleasing. Art can be as simple as a basic design, or it can be more complex, or it can be more intricate in design, or it can be very colorful, or simply a surreal design. But in all good art, we see all the various principles of design. We see balance, contrast, variety, repetition, and proportion all combined in a way that is pleasing to look at. And the more complex the art is, and the more it conforms to the principles of design, the more it indicates that it was created by someone who had a great degree of creative intelligence. But there's a lot of beautiful art we see every day that wasn't made by man, and we refer to them as being made by nature. What we know from the study of biology is that every living thing, whether it be plant or animal, has DNA in every one of its cells, and it's this substance that contains a code that determines whether, for example, a tree will produce cherries, apples, or pears, or if a bird will be an eagle, a raven, swan, or duck, or if someone will have black hair, red hair, or blonde hair. In other words, DNA contains the code that tells all living things what they will be and what they will look like. According to evolutionists, all these differences came about through small, incremental, and random changes in the DNA code over millions of years. However, despite all the evidence that they've accumulated to support their theory, there is an aspect of all living things that defies the explanation of evolutionists, and that is the design we see in nature. As we look at plants of every kind, we clearly see all the elements of design: balance, contrast, symmetry, variety, repeating patterns, and proportions that are all put together in a way that is beautiful to look at. As we look at trees, each type has a specific overall shape that is unique from all the others. Instead of seeing something that looks random or chaotic, as we would expect according to the theory of how things evolve, what we see instead is that each tree is beautifully made and is pleasing to look at because they all contain many of the principles of design. As we look closer at their leaves and seeds, we see the same principles of design clearly evident in each one of them. And as we look at the animal kingdom, we see the same principles of design evident everywhere. As biologists have studied nature, they have discovered different forms of symmetry, with the most common being bilateral. This is where the left side of an animal is the mirror image of the right side, and we see this most commonly in the face of humans, where the left side of the face is the exact mirror image of the right side. But the face is not the only place where we see this. In nearly all animals, if we were to draw a line down the center of their body, we'd find that the entire left side is an exact mirror image of the right side. But there are other types of symmetry besides bilateral, such as radial and asymmetrical. And we see symmetry throughout all of nature. When we look at the design of the human body, we discover that it has some very specific proportions to it. For example, from the top of the head to the chin is the length of one head. From the center of the body to the left shoulder is also the length of one head, as is the distance from the center of the body to the right shoulder. From the chin to the pelvis is the length of 3 heads, while from the shoulder to the elbow is the length of 1 head, and from the elbow to the wrist is the length of 1 head. However, from the pelvis to the knees is the length of 2 heads, while from the knee to the ankle is the length of 1 head. Furthermore, these proportions remain the same as the body grows. In addition to this, the face itself is well proportioned. For example, from the top of the head to the eyes is 1/2 the length of the entire head. The nose is 1/2 the distance between the eyes and the chin, and the mouth is 1/2 the distance between the nose and the chin. The eyes are the width of one eye apart from one another, and the ears always go from the eyebrow to the nose. Such works of nature not only denote deliberate design, where we see all the principles of art combined into something that is delightful to look upon, but what we also see is mathematical precision in its construction, not only in the human form, but we see this throughout nature. If we were to walk into a forest and saw a picnic table made out of wood, we wouldn't assume it was a creation of nature. Why? Because of its design. We would know that someone with a high degree of intelligence had made it. Furthermore, we wouldn't think that that intelligent being was a deer or a bear or a wolf, because no other animal but man has the kind of intelligence to design such a structure, no matter how crude it might be. But if we walked into the woods and came upon a log cabin, the design of this structure is so complex that there would be no doubt in anyone's mind that it was created by someone who had a highly advanced degree of intelligence. When we look at nature, we don't see simple, crude designs. We see some very complex organisms that have magnificently vibrant colors, with varying patterns, systematically balanced and with great contrasts, all combined into one aesthetically pleasing form, whose beauty equals or excels some of the greatest art designed by the hand of man. We would not look at an exquisite painting and conclude that there was no intelligence used in its design and creation. And yet, when people look at the wide variety of intricate designs we see all throughout nature, there are some who want us to believe that this just all came about by the process of random chance, rather than by some superior intelligence who perfectly understood and followed the principles of design.